Hey everyone, welcome to the Roundtable with Vienna Whyte, Season 1, Episode 35. I'm your host, Millie Rouge from the band Vienna Whyte here in Edmonton, Alberta. This Roundtable is a YEG music production. Thank you all so much for tuning into the show today. I want to introduce you to our guest today. Michael, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Michael. I play in a band called Accolades, as well as various session stuff around Toronto. That's basically I play guitar.
Fantastic. And Marissa, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Marissa Kay, otherwise known as the other half of Vienna Whyte, but I'm also a musician as Marissa Kay, and I'm also a member of a couple of other bands in Edmonton, Alberta.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you guys for giving your little introduction of yourselves. Now, I really quickly want to talk about a little bit about your musical journey so our audience can know more about your band and your act. So, Michael, can you tell us a little bit about your band?
Yeah, so we're a 7-8-piece funk band from the kind of the school circuit within Toronto. I'm from York. I got guys from U of T and from Humber, and our singer is a graduate from Harris Institute. So he does a lot of production stuff as well within that. And we kind of met year by year. So it started off with myself and our drummer. And then the following year, our bass player came to York. So I snagged him. And then following year, we met our singer. And then I was like, I want horns in this band. So we kind of connected around the scene and found a bunch of horn players. And yeah.
That's awesome. That's a huge band. 7 to 8 members is a huge band. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, Marissa, can you give us a little kind of an introduction to how you kind of got into the music world and the music scene?
Yeah, I started in music actually after I graduated from university. So I went to MacEwan University, got my diploma and then my degree, and that's when I kind of started my music career. I had joined a couple of bands while I was in university. I'd started a couple projects, but nothing really stuck. I joined a Ukrainian party band back in 2014, who I still play with today because I'm also Ukrainian. And I've been playing with them. I've toured around the world with them, which is really cool. Played like a lot of festivals. And then I have my solo act, Marissa Kay, which is based out of Edmonton. It's all very like Sarah Bareilles style stuff. So like Sarah Bareilles, Billy Joel, that kind of piano driven stuff. And then I started Vienna Whyte with you back in December 2019. So yeah, I've just been kind of doing music kind of like for my entire professional career. And I'm a music teacher as well. So
fantastic. So we've got some amazing guests here today. Thank you all for sharing. I want to jump into our topic of the day, which is band etiquette. So I think you two have quite a bit of experience with this, and especially with a 7-member band or a Ukrainian party band, you definitely know all about the rules and etiquette of being in a band. So I'm kind of curious to know, I know, Michael, you kind of briefly introduced us about your band, but can you tell us a bit more about how your band really started to mesh and how you started to, like, when did you kind of get to that stage of playing shows with your band? What was kind of that process like?
Well, right off the bat, when I came to school within the first week, I was like, all right, I'm starting a band. So within that first year, I was just playing with some friends around the school bars and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I met up with my bass player. And so I was like, all right, now I got a good trio happening. Let's just start playing and see what happens. So we wanted to record some records, and we wanted to just play as much as possible. So I got us a few shows here and there. And then throughout getting into the scene, I got to know more people and more singers and whatnot. We auditioned a few singers, and then found Thomas, who's our guy, and he's stuck with us ever since. And yeah, it's since then, we've just been playing as a 4-piece. And then when I saw other bands within the scene have horns and whatnot, I was like, I have all these different resources that I could use that I'm not using. Let's use them so that we can add different textures and whatnot within the band. Yeah. And then it's been just a growing process ever since then to really get out. But yeah, like we started playing pretty much as soon as I got my guys in, and like both of them, we just did this thing where our bass player was like, "This is how I joined the band," and I realized I did this with both my guys the first like day of school before even knowing them. I was like, "Play for me. You want to join my band?" So it was really just like fast. I just jumped on them really fast, and yeah, because I was like, all right, I'm in school. I might as well join a band, and I know some people who come out of school not even playing a show, and I don't know. For me, that's like, why? I
Was actually in that realm when I went to McEwen. I had that experience where I had so many resources around me, but I never thought to start a band until after my schooling. So that's awesome that you just like jumped into it and weren't afraid to like approach anyone. I think that's really amazing.
I have a very like, I'm not scared of people type.
Yeah,
like I'll approach you.
That's amazing.
I won't care, really. Like, yeah. It's.
Well, I think most musicians are pretty like, we're kind of, because of the nature of our art and our craft, if you will, we kind of can't be scared. We have to be like basically fearless with everybody and every musician we meet, because that's the whole point, is to connect with one another and get to know each other.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that too, because like I remember when I was in school and we had to like talk to people about joining our bands and playing our recitals and whatever, and just talking to people. Like I remember it being the scariest thing in the world at the time, and then once I got out of school, it was like, yeah, just like go audition for people and it's fine, like it doesn't matter. But it, like at the time it seemed like the hardest thing in the world to do. So that's amazing that you were just like, be in my band, and like I admire that, because I was like, I don't know how you are able to do that.
Yeah, it's I don't know, like ever since I was a kid I've been kind of fearless about the stage and stuff. And so it's been like when I was like 3 years old I was storming stages, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, so like getting people to join a project or whatnot has never really been a hard thing. It's been keeping them around. That's the hard part. Yeah. Because like especially with horn players, like they're so busy.
They're so wanted,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
like everybody wants a sax player, everybody wants a trumpet player, and it's like to be able to keep that around for a while is the challenging part.
Organizing band rehearsals is the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah,
it is an impossible feat.
And every person you add makes it even harder. So it's like
to the point where you're like, okay, the only time we have available to rehearse is 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. Like
yeah, it's stupid.
And
especially with people from all different schools too. Like Humber is one end of the city here, York is up here, U of T is right down here, and it takes about an hour from each York and Humber to get to U of T. Wow. An hour for U of T. It takes 2 hours to get from York to Humber. So it's like organizing all that and trying to make the rehearsals free, because we have the space, so we're not going to use a rehearsal factory. We're gonna use the space that we have. So trying to make that all happen, but so keeping the rehearsals free and getting everybody there on time. They usually ended up being like at like 10 o'clock on like a Monday night, and you get home at like 2 a.m. and fun times.
Now, Marissa, I'm curious to know kind of how I know you talked a little bit about Vienna Whyte already, but how did you get started with the Ukrainian band? What was kind of like the step into that?
Oh yeah, it was actually kind of funny, because like the culture here in Edmonton, like there's a Ukrainian band like the one that I'm in, Euphoria. There's a Ukrainian band like that everywhere you turn. Like you can't turn your head without finding a band that's like a Ukrainian English party band. But we call them Zababa bands. So like I had, growing up in like the Ukrainian bilingual community, like every time I went to a party or a wedding or whatever, there would always be a live band, and it was always like, you know, one of the big ones in Edmonton, like, you know, Millennia, or I can't even think of another Edmonton band right now. But yeah, I remember like idolizing them when I was growing up. I was like, oh, that would be so cool to be in a band, and like that would be so cool to sing Ukrainian songs. Like that'd be so much fun. They look like they're having such a blast. And actually, funnily enough, Euphoria actually played my Ukrainian graduation, which was hilarious.
Oh,
like
cool.
we had like a big party and they played it. And that's when I met the drummer. And like I was like making coffee and we were just like chatting or whatever. And they had other people in the band at that point. And then McEwen, and then I started McEwen, and Brett, my buddy Brett, that I went to high school with, he joined the band, and he was playing for them now, which is hilarious because he is the least Ukrainian person I think I could ever think of. But they got him to play, and he's one of probably the best guitar players in Edmonton, I'd say, like in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember if he was the one who recommended me, but they were looking for a new singer because their singer she had to leave. She played violin and she sang, and she was like, yeah, I'm going to Montreal, I think. And so Brett was like, yeah, Marissa sings in Ukrainian, she could probably do it. And so they contacted me, and he was like, yeah, you should go audition. So I did, and I like stressed about it and thought I wasn't good enough and blah blah blah. And then apparently after I left, they're like, yeah, she's in the band.
Nice.
Which was like kind of awesome. So yeah, and I kind of knew of them growing up. Like I kind of had a little bit of like knowledge of who these guys were. But yeah, I joined back in 2014. And I think the first gig I ever played with them was at this festival called Pisanka Festival, which is like a huge Ukrainian festival in Vegreville, Alberta, of all places. And it's like this huge party. Like there's so many people there. It's like out in the boonies, you know. But it was so much fun, and I've been having a blast with them ever since. And then actually we got a saxophone player as well in that band, who is Fred Mack, who I also went to high school with. So it's weird. Edmonton seems like it's a small town, like with the amount of people that I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just it was just one of those things where I kind of already had a existing relationship to the band, kind of. But also just because of my experience in the Ukrainian community and being a singer, that was just kind of the things that led me to being in that band.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Auditions are terrifying. I just want to say that right now.
They're so stressful.
Absolutely terrifying. Like,
they're so stressful.
Yeah. Like if there's one thing that like gets me amped up more than anything, it's auditions. They're just like, you're sitting outside, you're waiting there for like 10, 15 minutes, you're going through all the material, and then it's like, crap, did I learn this enough?
Am I good enough? Yeah, I think that's, I mean, with a lot of things like music and other, you know, kind of crafts in life, I think we kind of, sometimes we forget like everyone's human and everyone can feel those nerves no matter how prepared you feel for something. Like even when sometimes I've gone to interviews in the past, I'm like, I know I'm overqualified for this position, but I'm still nervous to just talk to people I don't know and have to convince them that I'm a really good person. It's kind of a weird thing that we go through as humans, but I think sometimes we kind of take that for granted. But
yeah, I don't know if you ever feel like you lucked into certain situations, but I get into that feeling all the time where I'm like, oh, I'm not actually as good as I think, but I am. I just need to remind myself of that. But
yeah, confidence is key with a lot of things, especially in music. Like you got to be confident on stage, or else people are going to pick that out right off the bat. And if you're not comfortable up there, and if you're not confident, it's going to show. And it's going to turn a lot of people off because they want to see comfortability when you're up there, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So this kind of ties into my next question perfectly, actually. What do you think has made your band successful? Now, Michael, I know you have a pretty massive band, and there's the struggles of like getting everyone together and rehearsing and everything like that. But what do you think maybe makes your band successful and have lasted for as long as it has?
Right place, right time. Like
luck of God.
Like a lot of it was very lucky. Like from where we started off to what we're doing now is just a lot of it's just been right place, right time. Like getting signed with our label, Akashic Records, and finding the manager who hooked us up with that. But then I was working with a singer who was on that label, and everything kind of just flowed together within like a 6-month period. And like even meeting the horn players who I've met through school and other things, like everything just kind of luck of the draw, right place, right time type of thing, but also perseverance. Like I just wouldn't stop. And I think that's like, there's been times where it's like, we'll go on a bit of a break and stuff. And I feel like that's where a lot of bands would like end what they're doing. But yeah, you just kind of have to dig through it and not let anybody kind of stop and move on. Like I've kind of been able to like grasp onto things and hold on to that and make sure that everybody's on the right page on the right time. And I'm sending music out, everything, keeping up with everybody on a weekly basis and whatnot. And yeah, like especially during this time with COVID and everything, it's really tough right now. Because I'm just like, all right, guys, here's some new music, learn it. Because as soon as this is done, we're going busking. Like I don't even care if if the
Yeah.
venues are open, like we're gonna go busking, we're gonna go to the streets, we're gonna bring it other ways,
Mhm.
and make money and
Get
make our
creative.
presence known that way. Because a lot of things are closing down, and there's gonna be a lot of venues like within Toronto, like the Horseshoe and Lee's and stuff that
Yeah.
won't close, but there's gonna be a lot of smaller venues that are gonna close down, and that's gonna make the competition for that a bit more
Absolutely.
a bit tougher. That being said, we're pretty well known within the Toronto scene when it comes to like local
Mhm.
stuff. So I don't think we're gonna have a problem finding places to play. But
Mhm.
those bands that are starting out now, that when I was 18, and those guys that are in Humber and U of T now that are trying to look for places to play, that's going to be hard for them to play, because it's going to be like, all
Yeah.
right, how many people can you bring out? I don't know yet. We haven't played a show because everything's been
Mhm.
on lockdown, right? So
Yeah.
it's finding those connections is going to be hard for the younger crowd.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything's just go out to shows and just go meet people and
Mhm.
make friends.
Yeah. Do you guys kind of have one leader of your band who kind of helps organize everything, or do you have like a couple people that organize everything and the rest? Because I know in certain bands, people love to have like the one leader, and everyone else just kind of listens and provides input here and there. Do you guys kind of have a system like that, or is it a little
Yeah,
different?
yes and no. Like I keep it really open for
Mm-hmm.
ideas and stuff when it comes to writing and whatnot. There are certain things where I'm like, all right, we're doing this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is happening. We are doing this. But like 95% of the time, it's open to discussion, really.
Right.
Um, However, that being said, it is good to like have a leader or two, or like
Yeah.
one, just to be like, all right, this is what we're doing, because it makes a lot of decision making a lot easier.
Totally.
But we're pretty democratic in our process of
Yeah.
deciding things.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
yeah.
yeah.
For sure. How about yourself, Marissa? I know you said with your band, we're kind of just chatting about what's made your band successful. I know you said Euphoria, sorry, has been around for a while. What do you think has
Mhm.
made it so successful?
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny enough, going back to kind of what Michael was saying.
Mm-hmm.
The band, like, because Euphoria's been around for I think about 12 years now, so they've been a band for a while.
Yeah.
For I think for Euphoria, for us being a band, I think one of the things that people gravitated towards, because as soon as Fred joined the band, he dropped the average age of the group.
Oh.
So we were one of the youngest Ukrainian bands to be around playing. And also, like, most of the Ukrainian bands are all guys. So I was like, it was cool that it was like, oh, there's a girl in the band kind of thing. But I think another one of the biggest things was that the two guys who founded the group, like, they just worked really well together.
Mm-hmm.
And our main guy who kind of organizes everything, his name's Adrian. We call him Splenda because he's like our sugar daddy, basically, because he takes care of all the booking and all the, like, the finances, and like he organizes everything. We just have to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll help with like putting sets together, or like, setting up and doing all the rest of the stuff that bands do. Like it's generally understood that anytime anyone comes to us asking to book something, we go to Adrian and we say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
just talk to Adrian.
Pass it off to him.
Yeah, so I think that just like having that kind, I don't want to say hierarchy, but just like having, kind of all of us understanding our roles in the band and kind of
Mm-hmm.
understanding what we need to bring forward and to show up. Similarly to how we kind of do with Vienna Whyte as well, is like, we all show up with the same amount of work. We're all putting in the same effort. And our jobs are all kind of not deviated.
Delegated?
Delegated. Yes. Thank you. So yeah, like, and over the years, like, Euphoria has started to kind of make a name for ourselves in the Ukrainian scene, which is kind of cool, and the Toronto scene, and like all across the provinces, which is really, really neat.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say, like, successful, quote unquote successful, is kind of like, I always say this all the time, your definition of success depends on who you are as a band. So our definition of success is, people know who Euphoria is in the Ukrainian community, and maybe not in the Ukrainian community in some places, but yeah, so I'd say that that's probably one of the things that kept us going for 12 years, was that they were just constantly trying to get better and trying to find a really solid lineup. And so far what I've heard from many different people was just that this is kind of like the best lineup Euphoria's had for a very long time. And like, not even just like the best in terms of people, but just like the most solid sound they've ever had. But that's, you know, the three of us went to McEwen, which is kind of hilarious. And so I think that had something to do with it, just because we all spent so long on our craft. But yeah. So I think it's a combination of hard work, knowing your roles, just giving it time, and then, you know, spending time on our craft and our sound as a band.
Absolutely. Well, this kind of, again, ties into what you said, Marissa, but what do you guys think are some things that you should do before starting a band? Maybe some things that are crucial to actually do before you actually start playing and getting out there. What do you think, Michael? What would be some things you would suggest?
Write your songs, have a list of like, I don't know, 10 songs or so, like have a set. Learn a bunch of covers, because people always want to learn covers, no matter how many. Like when I was 18, I was like, I don't want to do any covers, but like later on, I'm like, all right, we're doing here's like 20 covers. Go learn these songs, because we're gonna get sick of these songs eventually. And
play Wonderwall.
But yeah, like have as much material as possible going in. Have a plan. You need a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're screwed. And if you don't have a vision or a direction that you want to go in, then it's going to be a huge, like, I don't know. It's not going to
failure.
It's going to be a huge failure. Like, you need to have an idea of where you want with your sound. You need to have an image, and you need to be entertaining. Like, you need to be entertained. I can't stress that enough, where I come into shows and people are just standing on stage and it's boring and I'm bored. And I don't care how touching your lyrics are, how great the music is. If you're not entertained, it's the entertainment industry at the end of the day, right? Like, write good songs and whatnot, and it's all about the song, but that's for the recording industry, right? Like, that's where the recording aspect comes in. If your on stage presence is lame, I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen. Just because you need to be engaging, you need to connect with people, you need to be able to make people sing along, make people dance along. If people are first thing is going out for a smoke or going to the bar, getting a drink or something, then it's like, you need to be able to connect your music to the audience, and you need to be able to get that across. And watch what other people do and steal it. Like, just
imitation,
like great. Well, what is it? Great artists borrow. No, good artists borrow, great ones steal. And like, that's something that, for example, when I was first doing a bunch of the choreo stuff within my band, I stole a lot from Bruno Mars. Anybody who comes to our show isn't gonna know that I stole a move from Bruno Mars.
Was it Locked Out of Heaven?
No.
Uptown.
I know a lot of Bruno Mars choreography, so I'm curious.
Perm. I stole Perm.
Okay. Cool.
The whole
That's awesome.
Side to side stuff that they're doing. But like, you come to a show, and unless you like study his show, nobody's gonna know. And we're gonna make it our own flair after you get an idea down. But yeah, like, I don't know, when it comes to funk and more of the dance party stuff, Prince, Bruno Mars, Michael Jackson, Timberlake, like, those guys have their band and have a connection with the audience that you can literally just steal what they're doing until you can make it your own thing. And like, it's the same with music and stuff. Like, nothing, at the end of the day, how original is something? Like, every chord progression has been used, every melody has been used, every rhythmic thing has been used before. So take that and use that to your advantage and create something different off of it. No matter what you do, it's going to be different, because you're going to have your own flair to it. But like, there's no harm in, if you liked what somebody said live, take that and say that and see how you can manipulate that to work with you in your own show. Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Actually, that reminds me. Sorry, Marissa.
Oh no, it's okay. Well, I was actually going to say, like, on top of what you were saying, Michael, it's funny that you bring that up, of like, you know, taking all these things and kind of making it your own, and putting choreography into a show. I find that that's one of the things that I take away from, especially like party bands and stuff. Like, I know for even like with with Euphoria, we ended up as we were recording our album and playing it live. We ended up just doing this thing every single time in this one song where we all jump up and down at the same time at like this one shot. And it like turns out to be everyone like looks forward to it now because they're waiting for it. And then there's another song where on the recording we had a whistler. So now that's like part of this thing that we do during our song is that I ask somebody in the audience, I'm like, hey, are there any whistlers here? And then a bunch of people like whistle. I'm like, all right, we're gonna need you later. And then we do that thing. So they look forward to it every time we play that same song. So it's I really appreciate that. And I respect and admire that you're putting that kind of effort into your shows, because like that also shows the audience that you care enough to think about these things. Because not a lot of bands, I feel like, think about that. They just think it's about the music, and they don't really think about talking to their audience, like, because they're all hiding behind their instruments, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, it's not like doing it the cheesy way where it's like, all right, you play a song, then you talk, play a song, talk. Like, you got to have ways of doing it, right? Like, keep the band grooving, keep the music going, and you can flow between things and have segments and stuff. But that all comes within rehearsal, and you need to rehearse that, and you need to write that out, and you need to have a plan when you're on stage. You can't just wing it, because winging it might work one night, it won't work the next 10 nights. So what are you going to do for those 10 nights that it doesn't work? If you've like, because it's not always gonna have the same effect. And the thing with choreo too, like, once you rehearse it, it's weird to play stuff without it.
Yeah.
You know, like we've had to do a show where it's like, all right, the stage is cramped. There's 7 of us on here. We got to cut the choreo. And then at the end, my horn guys are like, I can't play this without dancing now. Like, it's weird. And it's just the way the rehearsals work. And I think it all comes down from your rehearsals and having a solid rehearsal. And if you guys want to check out somebody who does this, there's not a lot of people who do live show production, but one guy that we've had the pleasure of working with is Tom Jackson. He's a guy in the States from Nashville, and he works strictly on live show productions. He's worked with Taylor Swift, Shawn Mendes, professional top end pop guys, and he understands how to build a show and how to get your audience engaged. And at the end of the day, you want to create those moments where people go to the merch table, and he says something where it's like, you're not selling your song, you're selling the moments. Because if you have a song with like a really strong moment in it, they're going to go to the merch table and be like, what was that song? What was that song that made me feel like this? What was that song that made me do this? I want to get that. I want to get that lyric on a shirt. I want to get that in some shape or form, you know. And be original with your merch. Like, don't just have your band name on your shirt. Have a lyric in there. Have a verse. Have a chorus. Have like a catch line be something on your shirts. And I don't know, like, try different approaches of selling merch. Like, I got my buddies in a band called Afterfunk. They sold rolling papers and lighters, and that was like
awesome.
that stuff flies off because people go out and like buy it and then use it that night, right? Other things like beer openers, because people want, if you have a good beer opener, somebody's going to buy it because everybody needs to open a beer at one point. And like small things like that, like small little gimmicky things will get your merch flying, and then the more people will see it, the more we'll be like, where did you get that? And then
I wonder if we have anything like that, Millie. I don't know.
I'm not sure. So my kind of next question is kind of the opposite of what we just talked about. But if a band runs into problems, how do you think it's the best way to solve it when you're kind of, in the group, you're all doing well, and then something comes up and a situation happens? How do you get through that?
Fire everybody and quit. No, I'm joking.
Restart the whole project.
Restart the whole thing. Talk it out. It's a relationship, right? Like, but instead you're in a relationship with 4, 5, 6, 7 other people. So you need to have that communication, and that needs to be strong. And you can't take anything personally, especially when it comes to writing. Like, don't get attached to things when you're writing, because it might not work for the song. And if you're attached to this one lick, but like, I don't know, the horns need to be there, or a vocalist is here and you're stepping on top of each other, like, don't let your ego get in the way of creating something good, because as soon as egos get in the way, like, then you're screwed. Then your reputation is shot as a diva, and nobody wants to work with you, and it's not fun, and it makes that process not fun anymore. So that's something that, like, every musician needs to, like, learn how to do, is leave their ego at the door, whether it be whatever instrument it is. I don't care if you can solo a billion notes, don't care, leave it at the door. There's a time and place for everything. Like we were saying a few segments ago, know your role and play your role. Right? Like, I think that's really important to, in order to keep everything kind of under control. And arguments are going to happen. It's just part of the creative process, but try everything too. Don't, this is something that my band's gotten a lot better at doing, is just like, when somebody has an idea, just shut up and do it. Like, just do it and see if it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Everybody has ears. Everybody can hear it not work. But, like, don't have a 10-minute argument of being like, oh, this isn't going to work, before you even try it, because you've wasted what you wasted 10 minutes in, you could have done in 30 seconds. So I don't know, just like, even if it doesn't seem like a good idea, just try it anyways. Who knows, some of the weirdest ideas end up being the best part of a song.
I agree. That's similar to us too. Like, it's one of those things where you just, like, you have to kind of just, like, shut up and just let things happen. I definitely agree with that. And, like, for us, like, anytime anything comes up for us, we just, like, we try to, like, laugh it off and make it a joke, like, not in a way that's, like, diminishing anybody, but, you know, if our, like, we if I won't say who, but, like, if somebody forgets to come in, or somebody's not paying attention because they're on their phone, then we just, like, we like make fun of them. We're like, hey, get off your dating app, like, join us in rehearsal here, like that's what we say. So it's so it's but it's all in good fun, and, like, you know, it's all out of love, and we poke fun at each other just because, like, we know each other, and it's all out of love. I've poked fun, but I've also had a lot of fun poked at me. Usually the dating app person is me, so it's fine.
That's amazing. We have time for one more question here, and my last question is just, what advice would you give to a baby band who's just starting out on just basic band etiquette? What just straight out advice would you give them?
That's a really good question. I'd say sorry, go ahead.
Go for it. No, go for it. Sorry,
I feel like I'm interrupting everybody, sorry. But yeah, I would say that I would say find people that you really gel with, and you don't necessarily have to be friends first, but just make sure that it's like, it's that rule of, like, 2-minute friends, 2-day friends, and 2-week friends. Make sure they're 2-week friends. Like, you can spend 2 weeks with them before you go crazy, or even better, 2-year friends. Just because it's better for you in the long run if you can just kind of, like you said, Michael, like, put away your ego and just work together instead of getting personal. If you are going to work with friends, like, I think you have to have that like, it has, like, your friendship has to end at one section, and then your professional relationship has to go into another, similar to what me and you do, Millie. So it's, you know, we're friends, but we're also, like, when we sit in our meetings, we're like, okay, we are Millie and Marissa of Vienna Whyte. So I think you have to really set those boundaries. I think that's really, really important.
How about you, Michael?
When you show up to a gig, ask the day before if you need to use somebody's gear.
Yep. I can't believe I didn't say that one. That's so smart.
like if you need gear, ask the day before. And if not, go to Long and McQuaid and rent something. That's just some live stuff. When it comes to in rehearsals, keep it fun.
I thought of another one. Make sure you know who's paying you and how you're getting paid. By the way.
Yes, always make sure that that you walk out there with your hand. Also, don't spend your money on the bar. This is just like a musician thing. Do not spend your money at the bar, because you'll end up being in the hole a lot of the time. Don't drink and play. That's the most unprofessional thing.
Agreed.
My thing, if anybody in my band got too drunk to play, I'd fire them on the spot. Like, I don't care who you are, if like, myself included. Like, I that's my, like, biggest thing when it comes to bands and music, if you are too drunk to play, go reevaluate your professional life. Like, because there's nothing worse than seeing somebody stumble up on stage and just mess up their parts and it be loose, and then you can see the rest of the band just staring at that one person being like, what the fuck are you doing? No. Keep it professional. You know, it's not the 70s anymore where you can drop like 3 tabs of acid and be Santana or whatnot. Like,
and you probably won't sound as good as you think you do. So
no, you won't. There's a funny Family Guy clip where
Peter and Lois. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking.
They think that they're making like great music, and then it cuts to the end of it, and they're like throwing up on stage.
Oh no.
I think of that clip so often. That's so funny that you brought that up. So I was like, yeah, that's exactly what it was.
I'm lucky I haven't had to deal with any of that. Because
Mm-hmm.
there is a certain type of professionalism that comes with school musicians that I've been lucky enough to play with. But yeah, that's like I tell all my guys, like, before they even step in the rehearsal, I'm like, if you show up drunk, you're not going on stage. Like, do it after. You can drink after. You can, like, I don't care, a beer or two before, whatever. But like get comfortable. If you're like, you need a beer to like get comfortable on stage and loosen up a bit, sure, fine, whatever. But like, if you walk in there like 6-8 beers in, like, I'm not letting you on stage. Because it not only looks bad on you, it looks bad on everybody else in the band.
Everything.
Right? And people are spending money. Like, I don't care if it's $5, $10, whatever, however much it is. Like, people are spending money on you to entertain them. So entertain them and do a good job of it. Get drunk with them afterwards. You know?
I think it's just about respecting your bandmates' time, respecting the venue's time too. Because they're being nice enough to, you know, allow you to be in their venue, and your band is, you know, your band is inviting you to play with them. Like, so you have to show up for them as much as you show up for yourself too. So
absolutely. Well, that was our last question for the day. We are out of time, unfortunately, but we are so lucky to have had you both on today. If you guys are at home watching this roundtable with Vienna Whyte on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button. We post Monday to Friday, 2 shows a day, so there's lots going on our YouTube channel. But if you like podcasts more, if you're more of a Spotify person, you can also check out the Vienna Whyte podcast to hear this conversation through podcast form. So before we all head out, could I get you once again to just say your actor / band name and then social medias of where our audience can find you? Marissa, can you sign off for us first?
Yep, I'm Marissa K. You can find me at Marissa K Music. You can find me also at Euphoria Band, and you can find me at Vienna Whyte.
Awesome. And Michael?
I'm Michael Shanahan. You can find my band Accolades at Accolades Music on Instagram, Accolades on Facebook. You can find my personal stuff, Michael Shanahan 5 on Instagram. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the great conversation today, everyone. It was nice meeting you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too.